Hey everyone. Well, thanks Nick for the Sherlock talk and Andrew for helping with the Q&A. Those are some really good questions in the last session. So we're going to jump right into daily. Similar format to the way the Sherlock session was organized. So yeah, we're here to talk about daily, our new superintendent daily reporting tool that we announced. We announced last year. We announced at last year's summit, and we actually made available to the public as a beta in January of this year. So a couple agenda items. First, I'll do just a quick introduction into what daily is. Then after that, we'll spend a few minutes just talking about what's new. What have we been working on this past year? The feedback and the ideas that have been coming from customers as well as those of our own. What have we implemented, stuff like that. And then we'll talk about the roadmap for a minute. Talk about just some of the things that we're going to be working on in the near term, and some of them, that we'll be working on over the course of the next year. And then, just like with the last session, we're going to have a Q&A section where I can help answer any questions that you guys have by way of raising your hand through the Zoom conference, or by using the Q&A section and just asking questions through the chat, and then Andrew and I can dialogue about it. Cool. So a daily introduction. What is Flypaper Daily? So Flypaper Daily is our superintendent daily reporting tool. Traditionally or historically, superintendent daily tools, superintendent dailies have been handwritten, and over the last couple of decades, there have been software tools that have come into play that also have made that easier. And we wanted to get in on that because we thought we had a few ideas, and we had a few ways to make even the ability to add your work logs, make it more easy, make it cross-device and cross-platform, things like that. So we decided to make Flypaper Daily. So in short, a daily tool, some basic requirements that you need to be able to specify what day you're actually inputting work logs for us. You need to be able to import work logs that represent crews and the size of those crews and how many hours those crews worked, and you can even assign like what shift they were a part of when they did that work. And you can add attachments to those work logs. So if you're on the job site and it makes sense to send an audio clip as part of your work log, you can through the mobile device, for instance. You can take pictures or take do a quick pan with the video and attach it to a work log. And all of this will end up being in the report. In the end, people who view the report have the ability to access these attachments. You can also add notes. Sometimes it's not just about adding a work log that represents work that has been done, but you might just want to share notes, thoughts, observations with what's going on the job site. So you can do the same thing with notes. You can add attachments to those notes too. You can even determine if those notes are something that you want to have available on the final report, or if that's something that you really just want available to those people inside of your actual company, inside the application itself. These are some options that we give you. One of the things that's really neat about the Flypaper platform that we're building with Daily, and now you've heard about PlanScan a little bit, is we like this idea of this transparency and the open communication between people who are collaborating on a project. So there's a few different ways that we do that. One of the ways is we make it so that everyone can see what everybody else is doing. The right hand should see what the left hand is doing. This gives people an opportunity to jump in during the middle of the day and say, hey, that's not right. Or pick up the phone and say, hey, we need to have a chat about this before you do this. When you isolate people from one another on a project, that makes it really hard to do that. So we have a philosophy of everybody should be able to see what others are doing. And not only is it about just seeing those things, it's also just about how you can engage with one another. So we fully support this idea that you can have conversations as part of your work logs. Conversations allow you to have a quick chat, add comments to someone's work log, for instance. And all of that can show up on the report as well. So any dialogue or little back and forth that might happen as part of a work log and a report will show up in the report. Dialogue that happens with respect to a work log, it will show up in the report. That's one of the great things about one of the most necessary things about a daily tool is the fact that you can generate meaningful reports, and we make it possible for you to download easy to understand, simple daily reports, weekly reports, monthly reports. We provide a number of different ways for you to view that information. So it could be in the form of a PDF. It could be as a CSV. We even offer the ability for you to download all the daily data as a JSON object, so you can do even more advanced reporting than what we're offering currently. We provide a number of different options. One of the cool things about Daily 2 is, again, like I was mentioning a little earlier, is that it just can be used across multiple devices. So if you're on Windows, you can use your web browser. If you're on Mac, you can use your web browser. Even if you're on a mobile device, you can use the web version as well. It works. But we also have native mobile support currently for iOS. So on your iPad or your iPhone or on your desktop computer, you're able to have a similar, if not nearly identical experience on all of those devices. I say nearly identical because some things just don't quite make sense on mobile that they do on a web version. So the interface might change a little bit to accommodate the fact that your hand will be using it versus your fingers on a keyboard. But we really strive to make the continuity between all the different experiences really, really seamless. Another really cool thing about Daily and just the Flypaper platform in general is our desire to make it easy for you to connect to third-party tools. This definitely carries over from our open and collaborative and transparent type mindset that we like to have here at Flypaper. We don't feel like even the information that you're keeping on our system should be completely isolated from, say, other systems that you work with, or that the people that you're in a joint venture with work with, or whatever the situation is. So currently we support use cases like having your reports automatically being sent to your Box folder, your Google Drive folder, your BIM 360 docs, a folder in your BIM 360 docs, even Procore Drive, for instance. And we're always looking to expand that. Another thing that is really cool about Daily is how easy it is to add users to it. So not only can the person who's running a project make it possible and assign who is allowed to invite, but we make it very easy for those people to invite users. So say you've brought a subcontractor in, and there's a number of people that are also going to be contributing from his or her organization. You as a project manager of Daily might not know the names of all those people, but the foreman that you just invited certainly does. So give them the ability to invite their teammates, the other collaborators, and no problem. We'll send out invitations. We'll make that process for getting in easy. And then you as the manager of the project, you can manage their access very easily and kind of control what their experience is. Can they just view, can they, create work logs on behalf of other companies, or are they only allowed to create those work logs just for their own company? These are the types of things that you're essentially able to control. So that's just a quick dive into Daily, a little bit about like what it is. So let's talk a little bit about what we've been up to since this time last year, and where we're at currently with some of these new features. So as we said, we announced Daily last year at the summit. And a lot of work happened from that August until around Autodesk timeframe last year. And January, the Daily that we showed you during our first summit last year has changed shape a little bit. Improved UI, improved aesthetics, improved workflow, and things like that. We've just received so much feedback since last year's summit, and especially since January when we opened up our beta to the public. We spent a lot of time this year just addressing that feedback, taking a couple ideas back to the drawing board, and of course fortunately being able to really appreciate that some of our ideas were really good. We just needed to polish them more or make things just a little more clear. So that's some of the stuff that we've been working on. So one of the big ones is a feature that you're seeing right here, and this was our new user onboarding process. When you open things up in a public beta and the usage of the tool begins to expand, people need to have a very clear and easily understood onboarding process. We spent a lot of time as a team, honestly, a couple of months, iterating over this again and again, really working to have a more polished experience for people who are, one, just been invited to a project, or two, they want to create their own hub, create their own projects, and start running and organizing many projects of their own. So we really wanted to cater to those workflows, that process for people, and just make that really easy and clear. We're also just continuing to work on, little details. Some of the feedback that comes in sometimes will just be like, hey, I accidentally wrote a work log for this company, but it really needs to belong to this company. Some people do have the access, like the actual GC, for instance, the one who's managing the project, has the ability to create work logs on behalf of subcontractors, especially useful in the situation where maybe they don't have their subcontractors actually writing their own work logs. So it needs to be possible for them to create work logs on behalf of those subs, but also make it really easy for them to switch, what company that work log was for, because sometimes people make mistakes and they just need to, make a quick adjustment. So that was something that had been around for a while and people have been asking for it, and we addressed that, made that much more seamless for people. Another thing was really addressing the ability to lock and unlock a daily. So locking and unlocking a daily just basically means you, as a project admin, and people who are in the leadership position over a project in daily, have the ability to control, basically set a time when people can no longer make edits. So, perhaps, you're actively in a project, and we know that oftentimes, especially when you have a whole bunch of collaborators working together on a project, they might not all input their work logs at the same time. Many people do it throughout the day. That's actually the workflow that we encourage. We really want it to be super easy, so you can just kind of do it, as you go along. But that's not always practical for everybody. Some people really prefer to just kind of do things at the end of the day. We get people that do it at the end of the week. And there's always those people who end up, doing it after the week, or, maybe, so they need to go back and they need to make updates to, last week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. But there does come a point in time when you don't want people touching reports in the past, probably. We do keep track of all changes to all work logs and all dailies at all times. So there's never a point in history that we are not aware of a change that's been made. But it's really nice to be able to just say, hey, you know what, after a week, don't let anybody add any more work logs to this daily. Or, after a month, don't let anybody make any edits. So that's what locking a daily is. And you have the ability to unlock that daily. You can go back in time if you have the right access, and you can configure the access in the project admin. You can specify who is able to unlock a daily and make changes, because there's going to be those people in your team that you want to have that, give them that ability, that flexibility. So we spent a lot of time and had a few iterations around making this really easy and clear for everybody. We hope you like it. We had it, like I said, we had a couple rounds of it. We released it. We got some feedback. We made some adjustments, and we released a new version of it shortly after. And so far, the feedback is promising. There's even a Flypaper Academy video that talks about it. One of the other things is we just continue to expand on our downloading of reports. Right here, we're showing a kind of a new thing, your ability to download just the attachments for a daily. So we had a number of requests where people just wanted to get all of the attachments that came for dailies, and that maybe not the PDFs themselves. So you get reports on a daily basis. You can, of course, download PDF reports in various ways, daily, a weekly, a monthly. We provide those pre-canned for you. We even allow you tools. We even have a reporting generator that we're not showing here, but is makes it possible for you to set particular ranges of time that you want to generate and build reports for, label reports to. But sometimes you just want all the attachments. Like I said, in the PDF reports that you download, you're going to see a gallery of what those attachments are. And if you click it, it'll take you to a website. You can, basically interact with some attachments there. But sometimes you just want them to be downloaded to your computer. So we created a really cool feature that allows you just to select attachments, specify a range of dates or specific dates, either a date range or specific dates that you would like all the daily attachments for. Click the download button. We will find them. We will compress it into a zip, and we will send it directly to your computer, and you can do with it whatever you want. So as our functionality in Daily and our Flypaper platform continues to expand, so do people's use cases. Now we have made it possible for people to programmatically interface and interact with many aspects of the Flypaper platform, and Daily. It's a new feature where basically any user in the system has the ability to generate an API key for themselves, and specify what access level they want for that API key. Everything, of course, is you're limited to whatever you as a user, your permissions are in that project. But then you can kind of specify what you want your API to allow you to do, and you can programmatically in a number of programming languages do things like create a project, list all your hubs, list all your projects, and various other services that we're continuing to explore or expand our API with. We keep all of our documentation on Postman. That documentation is accessible through the documentation link that's actually in the app. You'll see a section called Developer API, and it will just take you to the website where you can actually very easily click what programming language you want to interface with. We will give you some examples in that programming language of how you can work with our API. And with all these updates comes our need to clearly communicate to people that we have in fact made updates. So there's actually a couple things here. One, we actually started publishing our release notes. That's something that we've been doing for both Sherlock and for Daily. So you'll notice every 2 months we'll be pushing out a Flypaper release notes that will cover Sherlock and Daily, currently highlighting all the things that we've been working on. But now we will actually update the actual application that you're using itself to let you know that an update is available. So on the web, what happens is because we have an application that's not a page you need to refresh all the time, we're constantly updating things dynamically. The version that you're using might be a little out of date, and the only way to really update that is to actually refresh your page. So now we let you know, hey, a new update is available to the Flypaper app. Click here to refresh. We'll let you know that it's possible that you might have some weird behavior if you don't. So we make it real easy and just notify you, hey, go ahead and hit refresh. And that's also pretty cool because it lets people know that, hey, when they refresh the app, that they're actually going to be having some either subtle, some new experiences, some new fixes, perhaps even 1 or 2 new features. And on the mobile application, we have a similar feature. Whenever we published a new version of the mobile app to the App Store, the person who's using Flypaper on their mobile device will also be notified, hey, you have a new version available, click here, go ahead and update. Cool, so that brings us to our roadmap. Just gonna spend a couple of minutes talking about where we're going, where we're going with things. So the first thing on the list is, our plans to integrate with our new product PlanScan. There's a lot of opportunity to tie in the week by week, month by month planning, and have it tied directly to what actually happens in the actual given day or given week on the job site, as per the logs of a crew member. So we're going to be spending time expanding on that. You'll probably hear a little bit more about that perhaps in the PlanScan talk, and maybe we'll talk about it a little bit more in the fireside chat at the end. But that's going to be pretty exciting for us. always looking for really cool ways to bring bring continuity between our products with one another wherever we can. Another area we're going to be working on is expanding on our dashboard. Over the last year, we introduced a dashboard. It's the first page it's the first component that you basically see when you go to the Flypaper platform on the web. It'll show you things like, here's where all your projects are. The idea is that it will continue to show some meaningful information, maybe some total labor statistics across all your projects that you're a part of. In Plan Scan, it might show you, what your 2-week look ahead looks like, things like that. We can dive into more of those details later. The bottom line is the dashboard is continuing to grow and be more of a place where you can kind of visually see some report-like stuff, but just kind of a summary of what is going on your project. So we are going to continue to expand on these use cases. We absolutely want people's feedback. We know that superintendents in particular are really interested in the dashboard because a lot of times they're managing multiple projects, and so they'll log in and they'll really get they're really able to take advantage and see the benefit of seeing such a dashboard that kind of gives them a bird's eye view of what's going on. But we're looking for other use cases. The visual reporting metrics across projects. I was talking about a little bit of that a minute ago, but we want to continue to expand there too. We do have good reports. The reports are showing the information that you want. We do have a report generation tool that goes beyond just the simple download button in daily, where we give you our pre-canned reports. You can actually go and make slightly more sophisticated reports with more sophisticated time ranges and things like this. But we really do, and we see the need to have more visual aid to those reports, and the dashboard. We've been hearing a lot of feedback from people that this is a great place to have it. So we've heard you, and we're going to continue to expand our efforts on that feature. Notifications in general are something that we are continuing to explore as a team, talk about, and improve upon. How are we able to communicate information to our users via email, sure, push notifications, on their phone. Also, even just giving a user some information in the app itself about what's going on. One of the big ones that we're going to be addressing first is inclement weather notifications for project collaborators. Wouldn't it be nice if you got a reminder, around 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, that hey, it's supposed to storm tonight. It might be storming tomorrow. There can be different points of the day where if you're just made aware once again of the changing weather conditions or a severe weather condition change coming later in the day or the next day, it might augment what you do today. And this is the time, we want to make it easy to get those notifications out to you. Maybe this is something that it's something a user can configure, how we get that information to you. We might just offer 1 or 2 ways to do that initially, but the idea is that we're able to get that information to you about the weather, inclement weather that's happening on the job site, and giving you a heads up, giving you the opportunity to know, giving you the opportunity to make any adjustments that you might need to make. Connections, talked about that a little bit on what is daily, and talked about what our connection story is a bit. It's just basically our desire to make it possible for you to share your information with other systems. Dropbox is something that we've had requests about. We had added Google Drive. Like I said, we had Procore Box and BIM 360 Docs. So we're going to be working on adding Dropbox support as well, because Dropbox is also a major player in that space. Platforms, I think we may have even talked about Android support last year. Believe it or not, there's just, without getting into details, a number of technical challenges that we have faced getting into an Android device, not necessarily with Android itself. So I'll just say that. But either way, a lot of work's been done there. I think now we actually do have something working on Android, and so we're very close to being able to actually make Flypaper available in the Google Play Store. So that's something we're extremely excited about. I would expect that I would expect that before the end of the year. We're that close. So stay tuned. Cool. So that brings us to the Q&A portion of this session. I'll let Andrew hop in here and let's get ready to tackle some of these really cool questions that everybody has.
So yeah, remember you can always drop more questions in the chat or in the Q&A section as we're going along. So I actually have a question already here though. So looks like somebody here is planning to use or thinking about using data on their project. What kind of training might be available to them and their team?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, definitely a good question. So a couple things. One, we are continually working to expand on our documentation. It's definitely an area we need to improve on, but we're continuing to expand there. That's certainly going to be helpful. Another area that's going to be very helpful is our growing Flypaper Academy videos. We have a couple now for daily. We have a couple for Sherlock. We're going to continue to do, add more and more there. A lot of those Academy videos are informed, by users. Common themes that we notice in our support requests. We'll notice that users are always asking about this for a period of time. They're very confused about this for a period of time. So I've noticed that that's been something that's really helped steer our Flypaper Academy videos. But also, we are 100% interested in doing everything we can to help you get started with your project using Daily. So what do I mean by that? Like Nick was saying, and Andrew was talking about all the different social media platforms we're on. I mean, you can get a hold of us on any of those. Discord by far is a great way to get a hold of us. In Daily, just like there is in Sherlock, there is a feedback button that you can click that will allow you to just put in your idea, and it goes right into our ticket tracking system, similar to the way the Sherlock stuff works. That's also a great way. You can reach out to us via email or any one of those avenues, and you can just say, "Hey, I need help training my people." And some of the things that we're willing to do, I'll tell you what we're willing to do. We're willing to coordinate a Zoom conference with you and your team. If you have a larger organization and you want to do more of a train the trainer kind of thing, we could spend some time workshopping with a couple of your major players, your main people at your company, teach them how to use it, answer their questions, enabling them to go ahead and maybe moving on to actual projects on company job sites. We're eager to help is basically what I want to say. So, and we're open to ideas there too. Our goal is definitely to make Daily easy for you, and we want to help. So hope that answers that question.
Also, just for everyone out there, if you've already submitted a question, you can get more entries by submitting more. So feel free to keep blowing this up. And also just to retouch on what Dan said. So yeah, you can schedule a live demo with us. You can do a lunch and learn. Happy to jump on those whenever works for you guys. So if it looks confusing when we first get in there, just call us. We'll set it up. We can have a demo, walk you through every bit of it, make you into a pro right away. So that's always available. Yep. Awesome. So another question I have is is about the tiers or the kind of the pricing of how Daily will work. So the question itself will there be a free tier is the question, but can you go a little into that?
Yeah, and like Nick also mentioned this, Sherlock, we both meant to have carve out a section in these to talk about pricing just a little bit. But yes, there will always be a free tier. And perhaps this is a good opportunity to kind of segue into that subject just a little bit. So we're currently Daily's in a public beta right now, so it's totally free to use. Anyone who's using it is not being charged. You have access to all the features. It's just wide open for you. So I just want to say that. In January, we will be moving to a pricing model. We don't know what the exact dollar per project amount will be, but there will be a dollar per project amount. And the more tools of ours that you use, for instance, there will come a point in time, inevitably, when PlanScan itself, which will be talked about after the break, will also be, have a similar pricing structure. The more applications of our you're using will help give a slight discount. You know, but it'll be a set dollar per project per month, beyond one project. So essentially, the free tier is if you just have one project, and that's the only project you have in your hub, and that's the only project your company is using, you have access to basically all the functionality. We are talking about having a kind of an enterprise tier as well, which will offer maybe some additional goodies, some possibly more advanced things. But in general, you'll have access to all the functionality that you have right now in that free tier, and we'll keep it that way. And basically, the pricing model that I'm talking about doesn't really come into effect until you add your second, third, and so on projects.
Awesome. So yeah, as long as you just have that one project, you're good. If it ever
Yeah.
goes
So,
past
and
that,
I'll-
that's
and I'll-
when something
and
might kick in.
Yeah, and I'll add this right now. Obviously, as we're getting closer to that, we are going to be communicating very effectively through our social media, our Discord, and our emails about how that's going to work. I know that we will be grandfathering in projects from the past, so don't worry about that. We'll make sure that you're good. But we'll be walking all of our customers through that process as we kind of get closer to when we're going to actually start charging companies for 2 or more projects.
Yeah, you'll be bombarded. Don't worry, you'll know exactly what's going to happen.
You'll know.
Awesome. Okay, so there's another question here also about beta. Yeah, so I mean, there's another question that's asking if you have a few projects, then in beta, in the current beta, and then when January comes, like kind of about that grandfathering process. So like if they already have a few projects during like now when it's in beta, coming January, will pricing kick in? Will it not kick in? Like how's that work?
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely going to grandfather in older projects. Our beta customers. We're not trying to screw anybody up. I mean, the specifics about how we're going to do that, I think, are still a little unclear. So I will say I will be fair with that, and I think just as a team, we're gonna, because we know that we want to have this pricing model in place come January timeframe. So that's something that I can say with real confidence. There's just going to be a few details that we want to figure out and then start to communicate to people between now and that time.
Awesome. Okay, well, that's all the questions I have for right now. Again, everyone can drop in the Q&A section in the chat. We'll have a few more Q&A sections throughout the event, so feel free to pop them in there. Perfect. So I'll hand it back off to you, Dan.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks, Andrew. All right, everybody. So, the final slide, what's next with our summit sessions? We're going to take a 15-minute break. And then after that, we're going to jump right into Plan Scan. Very excited for you guys to hear more about that. Nick's going to lead that session, talk about what Plan Scan is in more detail, what we see the future for it with our roadmap being open up a section as we have with all these other sessions for Q&A. And then we're going to jump right into the final session where we have a fireside chat and we just kind of talk about flypaper together, and of course some Q&A at that point, and then at the end the AirPod Pro giveaway. All right, so everyone, I'll pass it back over to you, Andrew, and I'll talk to you guys soon.